Hi, the funny thing is I actually had planned on talking about a different experience. Yesterday I talked to you about a certain experience, and in my mind the whole time um, I was planning on talking a totally different experience, and as I'm recording, that other experience came into my mind, so obviously somebody maybe needed to hear that. So today what I wanted to talk about was an experience of fear of death that I had, and it kind of lines in together with yesterday. And this is more of I guess part two of that. So just the fear of death. I was and I think it's more the unknown of death. You hear so many times, oh, when you die, I hear different versions, and because of that, I wonder sometimes about certain things. And we know, anybody that believes in God, that there is a better place. That does not mean that living on earth needs to be hell on earth. Living on earth can be wonderful, and it's meant to be wonderful. So I highly recommend to try to just have the best of your life here on earth and not wait until you get to heaven. But for me, I think, and I'm so thankful to God for this, because I feel like He really helped me out in something that I struggled for a long time. And I'm not sure where the fear of death came from, but I know for sure that in Romania, when I grew up, I've seen a lot of death. And I've seen a lot of dead people because of the open casket concept. And when you see people that you used to know and live around 24/7, and all of a sudden they're dead, there's a change. The way in the appearance, there's a change. It's like it takes a while, and you really have to stare at them to recognize the human being that they used to be. It's like, it's so funny because the characters, the facial characters and everything, they look the same, and yet they don't. And it's like you recognize, and yet you don't recognize them. It's like you're looking at a stranger. So something happens when we die, and we call it, the spirit lives the body. And I've seen this before I even understood anything more, because I grew up, from a young age I've seen this in Romania. And we as children don't get philosophical and into depth trying to explain things or wanting things to explain. You just see what it is, and you just see what it's not. And I clearly saw that the people that were, once they died, they looked very different than when they were alive. And it was almost hard. There were moments when I just didn't recognize them, although their facial characters were right there in front of me. So something happens. It's a mystery, and yet it's not. We know that the spirit leaves the body, and that changes something on a molecular level in the body. So I, one night, and this is years after, I don't know, it was maybe 17 years later, 15, 16, I don't know, something like that. One night I actually fell asleep, and God gave me a vision. And in the vision I was out in the park with my children. At that time my little boy was, I think, a year or 2 years old, and he threw a rock, hit me straight in the head right here in the center, knocked me dead instantly. I fell down to the ground, and instantly my spirit separated from the body, and I was lifting, and I saw everything that happened from above. And I saw the reaction of my family. It took them a while to realize what happened, that I was actually unconscious and I was actually dead. And I saw the grieving process of everybody, and I'm trying to wrap it up because the time is ticking, but there's every detail I saw. And I was hanging around for a while and witnessing this. And all I could think is, why are you crying for me? Because the peace that I felt once detached from the body, the lack of pain, the lack of worry, the lack of fear, the lack of anxiety, the lack of worry, so on and so forth, it's something that I will not attempt to describe it to you, because there are no human words that we can actually describe that. So I knew that everything was alright. It's that knowledge that you just get, that everything was alright, based on just how peaceful the whole thing was. And all I could think is, and I remember talking to them, but it's like I already, as soon as you detached yourself, it's like I forgot how it felt to be human. And I would yell down, not yell like angry or something, I would try to communicate and say, don't cry for me, because I'm alright and I will see you in a second. In my mind, once it's detached, I knew I was going to see the rest of my family in an instant or in a second. That's how fast to me time was, or the idea of time. But I still, because I saw their crying, and because they didn't understand, it took me almost like a strain of thought to remember how it felt to be human. And then once I understood, I realized why they were still upset. And time on earth was different than time once you're separated. And then, but I didn't worry or anything like that the way that we would do it in on earth. So I knew that I would see them, and I was happy for that, and I knew I was content. But at the same time, the very next thing is I found myself like in a glass bottle, when you send messages on the oceans and stuff like that, like those glass bottles, and I was inside floating around in a universe, and God looked in, and what God was trying to communicate is, the universe is so big, but we bottle ourselves inside of our own understanding of the universe, which is literally, we look like a message in a bottle and floating around in such a vast universe, and we are here fighting about the reality of our universe, that it's so small, that it's so hard for us to comprehend the immensity of the real universe of God. And he was showing me just how much we limit ourselves, because we really confine our own universe and confine our own understanding about life itself, time, God, God's character, God's intention towards us, God's world, and the world that he put us into for us to be part of, and the world, for us to be part of the world and the universe. And that was mind-boggling, realizing just how confined, how small our universes are, because we make it small, and because we are too fearful to really look up and recognize just how vast everything is. So I'm going to wrap it up, because it's going to stop automatically pretty soon. From that point on, I was never afraid to die, because I knew what awaited on the other side. Actually, when I woke up in the morning, I was extremely angry that I was back on Earth, because as soon as you're back on Earth, you feel the fear, the frustration, the pain, so on and so forth, that we all feel every day of our life. And it was kind of bummer, I'm back here again, having to go through all this pain again, when it was absolutely wonderful on the other side. So that was the message I wanted to give to you yesterday, and for some reason it went into a different route. And hopefully it helps you, and we will talk to you later, and have a blessed day. Bye bye.